Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to teach you guys how to make these. This is made from a wooden pallet. From a wooden pallet that's used to hold stuff like boxes, racks. The pallet I'm gonna be using is over here. It's a piece of it's a bit basically all it is 3 pieces of inch thick wood with some half-inch thick boards nailed to it. Basically, that's all a wooden pallet really is. It's got 4 on the front and 2 on the back, so this will make 2 of those right there. The jar and the flowers and the clamps you can get from various stores. You can get the jar and the flowers from Walmart and the clamps from Home Depot. But the first thing you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to get these boards off of this thing, and for that you need one of these. Now I'm only using basic tools today, so it'll help very much if you didn't it'll help if you mark your cuts and everything. You don't have to mark this cut, because all we're doing is cutting these boards off. So you just run this saw across these boards on this way first, and then you come up to this piece of wood and run the saw over that piece of wood again, and then you'll end up with 4 of these boards. You'll end up with 4 boards. And then you do the same for the 2 boards on the other side. And then you'll have 6 boards with which you'll make these. After you get these 6 boards, you're gonna wanna take your tape measure, place the top of these boards where you want to end your bracing, your back braces. And then you take your tape measure and place it across the board and measure to where you want it to stop. In my case, I'd like it to stop at 10.5 inches. So after you do that, you draw a little line there. You will draw a little line with your pen. Then you're going to take a square and extend that line all the way across the board, and then you're going to cut it that way. You're going to cut it at that line. After you get done that, you're going to want to start nailing the boards onto the brace, onto the first brace. To do that, you're going to want to hold it level, center the board, then grab your nail gun and run a nail in here and here, like I did on this first board. You're going to want it 2 nails in each board, and then after you get done that, you're going to want to repeat with the other side. Now I'm using 2-inch nails, so I'm going to have a little bit of excess on the back, which I'm going to get rid of later. After you get done that, you're going to I'll show you how to get this thing shorter very quick. Okay. We're now in the garage and we got these nails sticking out. I'm going to show you how to get rid of them. First, you're going to want to use one of these. You're going to want to use one of these things. It's a wheel grinder. You're going to turn on the wheel. You're going to want to turn this thing on and then start grinding these nails down. You want to grind them so they melt and form like a rivet. This will hold your boards together. It's going to be like a rivet. It'll melt and then it'll plug the hole. So whatever you do, do not touch the nail, because the nail will be very hot after you grind on it. You're going to want to press it to the wheel when you get the buffer running, or the grinder. Okay, so now we're done with that. Next, you're going to want to cut as close to these braces as you can to get rid of the excess. You could use this. We're going to use this saw right here. You don't need to draw lines. You don't need to draw lines on the wood. All you need to do is get as close to them braces as you can with the saw. Next, after you get that done, you're going to want to sand. Now when you're sanding, I'm going to mention this in every video in which I sand. You could use these safety glasses when you sand, but when you sand, you're going to want to start from a heavy grit to get all this fiber and stuff off, because this is a wood pallet. Wood pallets are not sanded. All they are is pieces of wood nailed to other pieces of wood, basically, to put it bluntly. What you do is you could use your electric sander. You could start at 60 or 80 grit. I recommend either 60 or 40 if you have a rotary sander. What you do is you sand all the defects, and then you use the sander to get rid of all the rest of this stuff. You use the sander, you take all the this has saw marks. It's got mill marks, it's got saw marks, this one was cut with a bandsaw because it's got the downward strokes. You're going to get rid of those because that's going to show up in your stain when you stain it. That's going to show up in your stain job as little dark lines. While some people say that's character, if you have a customer that does not want that in their stain job, you're going to want to sand this as best as you can to get rid of those marks. This ain't pressure treated, so it accepts stain very well. When you sand, you're going to want to start at the coarsest grit you have, 80, and you can't skip more than one grit. Like there's 100, 150, 180, and 220. You can go from 150 to 220, but you can't go from 100 to 220. Or the scratches will start to collect the dust from the other grits, and you'll end up with more lines on your wood. You'll end up with more lines on your wood, and you do not want that when you're making projects for customers like I am. I'm making a couple of these. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to run the electric sander over the wood. You could run the electric sander on the edges until you get this end grain smooth. You can get this edge. After you get that done, you're going to want to I go up to either 400. I go to 220 if I'm lacquering. 400 if I'm staining but looking for a rustic look. Sometimes I go up to 600, and sometimes I go up to 2,000. 2,000 if I want a nice polished look. So you're going to want to sand your boards next. Okay, so we're done sanding. So now this is how your wood should look. I can't see. I got to get out of the light. Yeah, your wood should look like this. You got a little bit of lines here from the saw marks. Unless you have one of those belt sanders, you're never going to get these marks completely out of your wood using basic tools and everything. But you could see how the transformation, it went from this, a very rough, bad like texture, to a smooth, looks like I just bought this wood from a store. It's poorly sanded over here. I should have sanded a little more over here, but that's how it looks. See if I can get that out. Maybe not. But these saw marks are never going to come completely out if you don't have a belt sander, or even an orbital sander will probably do the trick. But after you're done that, you're gonna want to start your staining. Your final step, staining. So we're gonna take this over here. There's my stain bucket. I just got done using it an hour ago. You're gonna want to use a rag. The best way to do it is to use a rag. And then you just dip the rag and then you start rubbing it on. Now, there's no wrong way to rub the rag, but you should rub it with the grain, because if you rub it with the grain, your wipe marks will be hidden. Okay, so we got our stain layer on. Now you could lacquer it, you could add stuff to it. I'm going to briefly show you how to mount all the hardware. I'm going to give you a little rundown of it because I don't have the hardware with me yet. The bow is just a stick-on. You can stick that anywhere you want, the bow. The lettering is stenciled on. You could use a sponge and some stencils we got at Walmart. You use a sponge and some stencils, or you can use a brush. It's best if you have the stencil held down firmly. For the jar, you're going to want to mount the pipe clamp to the piece, to the wooden platform by drill it by. First, you're going to want to run a screw through one of the holes in the clamp. The clamp has holes, and you're going to want the little screw thing, the tightener, this little thing right here, as far away from the wood as you can possibly get it, and still be drilling through a hole. After you get that, the flowers you could buy at Walmart, the moss you can buy at Walmart, the bows, the mason jars cost $12. To mount the mason jar, you just stick it in a clamp and screw it tight. That's all. Thanks for watching.